Well, Dr. Chriss Lemmon, and this is February, or will be. And so this is my talks this year are going to be on teaching concepts. We'll get into some applications as the year progresses. It's just another kind of stream or thread of being able to open up range and look at things in a bigger way. Last time that I talked in January, I kind of gave an overview of like what happens when I'm in a classroom and students are coming in. And so it ranges. They come in the door because something's not working. They're curious. They want to expand something out. And then we have these reactions. And they're either all excited and overly zealous, or they're just right online, or they're you don't know what you're talking about, and that's all fine and good. I'm not trying to tell anybody a thing. This is all about developing resources, right? So in my theory, I look at what I call externally referenced ideas. That means the person in your stories, right? That's external reference. Yeah, I'm sitting right now, I'm drinking a little bit of coffee that is in a Starbucks cup, but it's not from Starbucks. I made it. So that's an experience. I just did it in my body. I can feel the coffee. I can feel the liquid going in. That's total experience, right? Duh. And I talked about, I did it. Did that tell you I'm an expert in coffees? Did that tell you I ground the beans, that I handpicked them, that I flew to somewhere and picked? No, it didn't tell you anything. It didn't tell you anything outside. Is this the best coffee in the world or the worst coffee in the world? It didn't tell you that either. Do you understand that? I just told you about an experience. I demonstrated an experience. That's it. That's it. Oh, outside in the world, if I were going to tell you a story, I would then say, oh my God, I flew to Guatemala and handpicked these myself. I sat there for 3 months while they dried and cleaned and brought them back and ground them fresh and made this coffee. It's amazing. That's another whole different story. It doesn't even tell you anything about the experience. It could be done by someone who doesn't even drink coffee. I mean, this could be Coca-Cola, and this was an ad, you wouldn't know the difference. It doesn't tell you about a truth. It doesn't tell you much of anything. It tells you about a story. So what I call the external piece, the story about you, the external piece is a piece that tells you something about value. It's either a pretense of value or a truth of value. Truth of value is a temporary piece, right? It's like, I don't think I've drank a soda pop since maybe I was 14 years old. So I can't tell you that I have a lot of knowledge about soda pops. I didn't used to drink coffee. I started drinking coffee somewhat later in life. And for the most part, I started drinking coffee because I was establishing meetings with people who were interested in classes or workshops or something. I had a center, big room, things going on. I couldn't bring them there, so I would meet them at a Starbucks. We would sit there and have a talk for 20 minutes to a half hour over a cup of coffee. Yeah, I spent a couple $100 a week on Starbucks cards and buying people coffee, and we were discussing things that, so people think in terms of that have known me for years. I'm old, so a lot of people know me for years. They always imagine me as having a cup of coffee in my hand, but in my center, I actually just did herbal teas. I didn't have any coffee in the center. So if you saw me drinking out of a Starbucks cup, people would say, oh, you're drinking your coffee. And I go, yeah, but little do they know when I got to the center, I put a tea bag and hot water in there, and I'm actually drinking herbal tea out of a coffee cup. But what I'm trying to say is that if people thought it was great I was drinking coffee, then that had value in them in the world. Maybe they thought I knew something. If people thought that I was being deceptive because I was putting tea in a coffee cup, they maybe walked out because they were mad at me. Do you see how people come up with all these ideas? This is just kind of crazy. Isn't this what we do? I mean, all of us, don't we do this all the time? I like something because of this. I don't like this because of this. I got whatever the story is. To get out of that, you have to get the range a little bigger. It's got to go a little bigger, right? if I'm an expert and I have read everything on ATP production in the human body, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm always going to have a lot of energy and I never have to do anything about it because I've read the books and I know all the research, or am I still going to have to go through the living process of, I'm going to have to go through the living process. Do I have to feel that in my body? Well, no, I don't have to, but if I have some feelings, some sensations in my body, I might get a clue if that's not working. In other words, if I'm getting fatigued every day by 2 in the afternoon, I got to take a nap. It tells me that, but my ATP production is probably out of kilters. Does that make some sense? So what I was saying to start out with last time is that when people come into class, I like them to sit down in a chair and I tell them get grounded. Okay. Simply get grounded means bring your attention from the world that we live in, which is all full of what I call requests and demands, right? Rules, structures, all that is out there. Come on inside here. And as you start to ground, that means bring your attention inside. Like you're sitting there, you're going, wow, I'm sitting in a chair. Can you feel the chair? Can you feel your feet on the floor? Wow, welcome. So explore this. Being an expert out there doesn't automatically mean you're successful. Everybody that's expert say it's right place, right time. So, oh my goodness, how do you know right time? I mean, I'm not wearing a watch, so I guess I wouldn't know right time. All right. But right time means that of all those things, you show up at the right moment. I was selling steel garage doors once, eons ago. And I had a little model that was a steel garage door painted. And I was going to go show it to one of the large builders in Southern California because they were on the coast and the wind blows. So wood doors decay pretty fast. Aluminum doors kind of flop in the wind. So my thinking is, here's a guy building 500 homes and they're on the coast and wind blows. Steel doors are dipped, primered, painted. They look just like a regular door, but they're not going to blow in the wind. They're not as heavy as a wood door and they're not going to rot. So I go to show him and I'm sitting there with an appointment to talk to someone and I'm outside by my car. I'm a little early, right? And I'm sitting there thinking, how am I going to approach this guy? I mean, like he's been in the business for a while. How am I going to approach him? And a food truck pulls up and I thought, I need to take a break from trying to figure it all out. I just take a break. So I walk over and I get a cup of tea, right? And I've got a cup of tea and some guy comes out in a suit and he's got a little name tag on with a symbol, which is the company. So I'm thinking, oh, he probably works in there. I might as well play this card. So I've got my tea and the guy said, oh, I'll have a cup of coffee. He's going to have one. So I said, hey, you work in there? And he said, yeah. I said, cool. Let me buy you a cup of coffee. And he said, I don't know you, don't know me, but I'm about to go in there. So I figured knowing somebody inside might make me feel a little more confident about going in there. And he just kind of laughed. And so I bought his coffee. And I guess then he felt a little obliged to stand there and talk to me for a few minutes. I didn't pitch him on anything. I had my samples. I didn't say anything. I said, how do you like this company? I'm just asking about him. I'm just talking about him. That's it. And so he takes a couple sips of coffee. I'm drinking my tea and finally said, well, maybe I'll see you inside. Maybe I won't. And he just leaves. Okay. So I go inside. I go to my appointment. I go in. I'm sitting down talking to a guy. And the guy that's the representative that I got to talk to sell garage doors, he looks at my sample and he said, this is like a refrigerator door. We build houses, not refrigerators. What do I want a refrigerator door for a house for? He was just being rude and obnoxious. He's the expert and he says, blah, 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 blah. And he's got a bunch of questions, but he's not even giving me time to answer them. I want these made. I need to get sometimes we need 20 of these done in 1 week, blah, blah, blah. And I said, whoa. We have an entire shop to manufacture. They run through they're manufactured with any pattern you want on them. It's steel, manufactured any pattern. They're treated, they're dipped several times with undercoats. and then they're finished and painted to match your house. They come out and they install very quickly. They're not as heavy as a wood door. They come out on a truck. We got 2 men, they throw it up and they put it up. We can put them up just as fast as a wood door. We can manufacture them just as fast as a wood door. It's not a problem. They look the same. It's just that they are going to be a lot sturdier and not going to be a problem with the moisture that you have out there. And he's just shaking his head. He's just sitting there shaking his head, trying to just like, how soon can I tell this guy to go away? I don't want to talk to him. And the guy that I had bought a cup of coffee stepped in the door and looked at the guy I'm talking to, smiled, then looked at me and said, he's a tough one, isn't he? And I said, yeah, I think he's about ready to throw me out. And that guy was the owner of the construction company that I bought a cup of coffee. And he says to the guy in front of me, I'd like to know more about this guy's product, but I don't want to have to listen to him. When you find out information, talk to my secretary and set up a time to talk to me. Like, whoa, I just sold 500 garage doors. That was it. It's just like, bingo. But that's it. Do you see, it wasn't because I knew something. This guy was the expert, but he never saw steel garage doors before. He never had an idea that they're very serviceable in certain conditions. He had no clue. I don't know if my information was correct. Maybe they're all going to rust out and fall apart. I have no clue, right? I was just like the first month on the job. I just was making appointments, but I most certainly made a sale. I didn't stay with that job very long because of the fact that everybody that I hit that had gone up the ladder and had become a company person running a department, like in charge of garage doors, looked at me and said, I don't want that. No, we got our own people. We got our own setup. Contractors I use, subcontractors I use. Nah, go away. That's what I got. So I just actually quit it. But I did make the sale. I made one sale. So I recognized from making one sale that this was an uphill battle. I didn't want to work that hard for the money I was getting. I went out and found another job. I don't know if the guy running the company went out and continued with it or if he started making refrigerator doors. I have no idea what happened. Never followed up on him. I'm just giving you a little pointer. It's like my change in attitude, my switch of like, I'm just being friendly. I'm trying to get comfortable in my skin. I'm trying to feel like I got it all together, and I didn't. And having a little talk with someone all of a sudden made me feel a little more confident, right? That's it. So the way I look at it, the idea outside in those stories are value pieces. This was valuable. I just gave you a story and a piece of that was valuable. Yes, if you could get lucky enough to find the owner of the company that's walking out to a food cart, for heaven's sakes, to get a cup of coffee, that means the coffee in there is probably not good. Then maybe you get lucky. You see, I don't know there's any way to plan that, right? That's not logical. It doesn't make any sense. It's not going to be in a logical piece. Was not in my manual for how to sell garage doors. Those are the pieces that really make a difference. We could call that good luck. Okay, but it was, if I had tenacity and was trying to sell the door, I might have been trying to pitch that guy out there in the parking lot. I didn't. I just wanted to be friendly. I just wanted to relax, get rid of some of the anxiety. I realized talking to someone starts to reduce some of that anxious. We're humans. We're social beings. We like to interact. So it has a benefit for us. It takes some of that charge off. We can relax a little bit. We can let some of that energy go down. We're doing an unknown. I just needed a break, and he was the break, right? Do you start to see that? So from those kind of learning experiences, I've done a lot of different jobs. I've done a lot of different things. Just because I would do something for a while and I say, oh, well, that was fun. But I'll try this for a while and I'll try that. I am probably a poster child for a flaky person. I didn't get fired. I didn't get any of those kind of things. I just did it for a while. And I said, I don't want to do this anymore. So I'm going to go do something else. Have I been out of work very much? No, I have never been out of work in my life more than 5 days. I would quit a job and sit home and think, I'll take a break. And then the phone will ring and somebody's looking for someone. And next thing I know, I'm working, right? So that hasn't been. So you could say I had a better relationship with good luck than I did with logic, right? I have a couple of PhDs. So in the academic world, I guess those are all logical elements. I speak English, that's a logical piece. I can think about things. I can analyze things. I can learn things. I like learning things. Most of the time, I like learning them a lot more than I like doing them for long periods of time. But that's all part of the game, right? I got a lot of hobbies. I like stained glass windows. I play guitars already. I've done this. I've done that. I'll do things for a while, have fun with it, move on to something else. I think that gives us diversity and gives us range. So how do you teach that? Well, we're back to the same thing. You come down, sit down, feel your body. Start to notice like, wow, do you feel warm? Do you feel, I watch someone. I got a guy who's anxious. He's sitting there and he's already doing this. I said, hey, over there by the door, you need to go sit in a chair by the door. And if you feel a little anxious, don't worry about me talking. Don't worry about missing anything. I've never said anything important in my life. I guarantee you. If you're sitting here in this class and you feel anxious, get up, go out the door, walk around the parking lot, come back and sit back down again. No one will be offended. That's why I'm having you by the door. And I have done that many, many times. And those anxious pieces, they get out, they move around, they come back in again, and they slowly calm down. And they slowly get a little more into the feeling of things. They don't trust their feeling of things. And when they start to do that, they don't trust it. You need to learn to trust this. This is just instinctual. You need to learn to trust this. This tells you a lot. Oh my goodness, lots of data up there. I mean, I'm one of those people that read a lot of books. I got, besides the phony picture in the background, I actually have 2,000 books in my living room. I read a lot of books. I've got 2 books sitting over here next to me. I was reading for an hour this morning. Yes, I do a lot of reading. I have a lot of data. I've read several books on ATP productions, and I'm still got to do exercise and eat food. Having all the data doesn't make it easier. I'm not always sure that I could work with it. This is what's interesting. This is why I've found that the inside is where we get our message on potential and creativity. We might get inspirations from the outside. We might see something that sparks it. But for the most part, it all starts to form in here. It's not logical. It's just not logical. Crazy ideas that we get are not logical. We might try them and it don't quite work that way. We do amend it. We change this, we change that. And then we finally get onto something that comes together and starts to work better. And then we can bring the logical people in to improve it or to market it or to fix it. It starts from this craziness, this non-logical piece. You need to build a relationship in human existence with this non-logical piece. If you have all the information, you're not a guarantee that you're a happy person, not a guarantee that you have friends, not a guarantee that anything, right? If you start to then relate to your body, you're then moving in a direction of what we call being healthy. You notice when it's not working. Yes, I have people that are really, really good at a job and they say, oh, I got to quit this job. I can't stand it anymore. I used to love it, but now I can't stand it. I got to do something different. Come on. I used to do that, every year or two. So it's like, oh, okay, we're talking the same language here, dude. So what are you going to do? Well, I don't know. I got to go learn something. It's going to take years. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of interesting. I never felt like I had to learn something. I just said, okay, I got to find something else. And then it showed up somewhere. I was at right place, right time. Anybody would say I was right place, right time, redundantly, repeatedly, right? I didn't plan it all out. I didn't sit in the parking lot watching my watch to time the food truck or the guy walking out. I didn't do all that, right? It just, there it is. So having a better relationship with this piece that we operate out of, whatever we are, I have no idea, right? It's another one of those abstract pieces. People like to call it soul, personalities, beingness, spirit. Okay, let's go. I don't care. Call it whatever you want to, right? Yeah. We label it, and that's supposed to make it logical. Someone gave me a name. Well, someone gave me a name, and then someone else changed my name. And then I decided to change my name, and I've changed my name several times in life. So am I operating under an alias? Well, yeah, technically, most certainly, it's a legal alias. In those days, it was easy to change your name. Now, today, you got to go to court. It's more complicated. I don't know why that is, but but when people see me out of the past, where they go, "Oh, you changed your name," and I don't hear that very much because I don't see a whole lot of people out of my past. I see a lot of people out of my future. That's what I focus on. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow, but I want to meet the people, right? Like in that parking lot, I needed to meet the guy that produced my tomorrow. So when I'm teaching a class, I'm really interested in those 20 students in front of me because that's my tomorrow. That's my direction. That's my education. It's like, wow, I have 20 experts at being them. Maybe they're not comparatively the best at anything, but they do a better job of being them than most people. They come and sit in front of me because they say, I feel all this potential, and they have a story about it. I feel all this potential, and I don't know what to do with it. And I said, I think you're right about that potential. I really do. And we really need to go into this a little more and be able to start to define that. Define rather than the demand you feel. Oh, I want to quit this job, or I want to get a job working outside. I'm tired of sitting inside on my butt all the time. I want to move around. I want to be, and I like to say, well, you could be a gardener, No, I don't want to be a gardener. You get all dirty. And it's like, no, I want to, oh, okay. Well, then it's not what you said. It's not like I'm tired of sitting and I want to get outside. It's like, I want to get outside and do something specific that you have in your mind, but it's not in your story. And if I asked you to make up a job, you would give me an example. Maybe you want to be a construction engineer or build bridges or whatever. But an awful lot of those people spend a lot of time sitting on a butt in front of a computer today. So it's like maybe you just want to be a contractor and build houses. But if you're really successful at that, then you're really just like spending all your time on the phone trying to order parts and trying to get dirt moved from point A to point B to put this hut. Yep. It requires a huge range to be able to do all the things that are essential. You need to start here inside to build that range. Like, I asked a young man a few months ago, what do you want to be? And he goes, well, blah, blah, blah. I work for family and then I want to do this and I want to do that. And it's like nothing very concrete. I didn't see the energy moving. I don't say, yeah, man, I'm really studying. I've gone out, I bought tools. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. My goal is to get this degree. It's like, no, like, where's the story? And I said, oh, it's kind of interesting. What does that feel like? Well, it feels like with a little help, I'm getting there. And I still don't see any energy. Like, well, it sounds like it would be, in my mind, it sounds like it would be a lot of help. It would take a lot of help. Someone would have to build a fire under you. Like, wow. But no, I'm not going to say that, right? Because that's not fair. That's a judgment call, right? So I look at that and I say, no, that's the wrong thing to think. I have to think, how do I build a fire under him? Right. So I said, okay, ask me a question about anything. Okay, and we'll have a dialogue. Remember, I learned to calm down and feel a little better about me by talking to someone in a parking lot over a cup of coffee I bought. Big investment, right? So here I am saying, okay, you just bought me a cup of coffee in theory. So ask me a question. And he asked me a few questions that are more philosophical. It's like, wow, the meaning of life is going to make you an expert and get you a job. I'm not all that sure, right? I'm not sure that that's going to make it right place, right time. I think that you have to go in here and you have to search that piece out. I think I mentioned in the last video when I originally went to college, I thought I was going to go into electronic engineering. I have no idea, other than the fact I had a buddy of mine that liked to read popular mechanics, and we used to look up stuff in popular mechanics, and he liked to tinker in his garage and make stuff. We were 16, 17 years old. And when I decided to start to make stuff, I just noticed that I went to Radio Shack and got a kit and soldered something together. And then I'm showing him what I made. He's showing me what he made. And I go, well, that's kind of interesting. You made something mechanical and I made something electrical, and we're both reading popular mechanics, you know. And he said, yeah, I guess I'm going to be an engineer and you're going to be an electrician. And I'm thinking, well, why can't I be an electrical engineer? Why do I have to be an electrician? In my mind. And then I looked at him and I thought, okay, he's right. I'm reading popular mechanics with him. That's our bond friendship. We read stories and we share stories and we blah, 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 talk, you know, blah, social, right? So I should go subscribe to electronics or electrical engineering book. So I did. And I started reading stuff in electrical engineering. And I'm going, I don't understand any of this. I have no idea. Radio Shack was pretty easy, but this is not so easy. And when I got into the field, as I got into the field, I can remember an advisor talking to me, and he said, why do you want to go into it? And I said, I have no idea, other than the fact that I like the concept of being able to have things work that's not visible. Something mechanical, this goes over here, you got to bend it, tweak it, put another screw in it, oil it. And that's, to me, pretty obvious. And even though it gets complex, it's like, nah, I don't get excited about that. But here I got a couple of wires and I got things out there laid out, light bulbs and all door handles and all that stuff out there, all running around, and I'm putting this all together. I have to imagine all these connections, kind of integrate them all together and make something happen. To me, that's interesting. I like to play up here into this whole arena of putting it together, not really knowing exactly. And he said, so you're pretty much looking at design in electronics. I said, yeah. And, you know, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is more complicated than I thought, right? So, yeah, I went through a couple of years of that. And then I got a job for a couple of weeks, an intern program, 2-3 weeks, working for a company, General Dynamics at the time. And I looked around, I had a little name badge and everything. And we were sitting in there drinking coffee and talking about concepts and ideas and waiting for production prototypes to come down so we can make measurements and test things and then send it back for modifications. And it was a really boring job. I was like, oh my goodness, no, I don't want to do this. So I went back and changed my major to something different. It takes a while to get to know what this is. If I would have had the tenacity and the drive to like, I got to go into this engineering because I'm going to make more money doing this than whatever else I'm going to think of. If I really believed that, I don't know what drove me. If it was all about value outside, then I would have gone totally numb in here, stuck with it, got the drive, and got the paycheck. Yeah, that's what I would have done. But that's not what I done. Instead, I said, no, I want to know how this thing works. I thought it was my Radio Shack device, but this is a bioelectric device. I want to know how this works. I want to know how ideas come in. I want to know how this all gets triggered. Yes, yeah. So I find myself, Schrodinger's book, you know, What is Life? You know, I'm written 1940, something or another, right? You know, I was in college by 1960s. So it's like, there it is. And I'm reading that going, yeah, this excites me, not to go into physics, but to find out more about what this goes on. I had all kinds of crazy ideas that I don't know if I know that much more about. I have maybe a little bit more interplay with all those things. Most certainly enough to teach people to get enthused, to look at that, to start to delve into it a little bit for themselves, to get to know you and how this works. If you're going to be stuck behind a desk trying to operate and having headaches and migraines and going home and being angry at the wife and the kids and life in general and drinking excessively and everything because your job is so stressful, you got to go back to this piece of machinery here and you got to say, how do I get out of this? So a couple of the things that I integrated in, and when I say integrated in, a lot of my teachers would say, well, you gave us curriculum. And I said, I gave you curriculum. So you weren't sitting there scratching your head trying to figure out what to do next. But pay attention to your students and then adapt the curriculum to what the students are going to need. Life can be very demanding. Demand is a stress on our body. Whether you're carrying a heavy weight or you got deadlines or whatever. There are other people that have great stories about deadlines being inspiration to them, right? They love jobs with deadlines because it keeps them on focus and drives them. And other people just go nuts and get sick and get overweight and get fatigued. You have to go in here to find what that relationship is. Right? I don't have a good relationship with the man. I don't like to be told what to do. Not because I know better. I absolutely don't think I know better. I really don't. I've made so many mistakes in my life. I'll guarantee you that probably everybody I've ever known knows more than I do. But it's never stopped me. And I'm going to go forward in life making even more mistakes. And I don't mind doing that. But as I make a mistake, it helps define me in here. I go, oh, wow, I got that wrong. That's pretty interesting. It lets me go in and say, why did I make that assumption? Why was my range so small? I only saw things happening in that way. Wow, I just learned to make it bigger. Wow, I just learned to make it bigger. Hey, give me another job. I just learned to make it bigger. It just needs to get bigger so that when I make a consideration in this range, I know exactly what it's going to take in this range. I become the person that knows all this. I get in that position, and then I find my body stressed and I can't do it. Wow, I made a mistake. I need more range. I need to find a comfortable place where I can do things. I was working for a lady one time and she said, oh, because of competition with I was in a warehouse. And so I was running a warehouse. And she said, I want to do this and this and this. So we'll help with the competition so we can find the cheapest way to ship things to people. And I said, I know the cheapest way. Give me the weight and the fragility, how breakable it is. And I can tell you which way to send it and what's the cheapest way. But I want you to run an analysis on every product going out. I'm going, no, I won't do that. So I will stay here in a job until you find someone to replace me. I'm not going to do that. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Why should I stress myself to get my job done now? And now you're telling me to triple the amount of work I'm doing to get my job done. Why would I do that? And why have I been working here for a year and a half, learning all these systems? And you come back and think, I don't know anything. So why should I even want to relate? So you let me know when you want me to leave. And then find someone who'll do that. And so that was the end of our conversation. I worked another year or so. And then she started kind of going downhill on business because shipping was going up. She didn't want to raise prices. Profits were going down. I don't know. what can I say? She eventually downsized and then had to raise her prices to take care of shipping. I was long gone by then and into a different type of job because I was, 2 years. Yeah, that's enough. And so um, it was time to get the range bigger. I didn't need to learn that lesson over and over and over again. I didn't need to refine that. I already had enough information. So that's where you start to sit. So what I didn't need was more information. I needed a bigger range. But she wasn't going to go for a bigger range. I gave her some ideas. Why don't we do some promotions with products, right? Have them, if they buy an extra, say over $100, we give them a discount on something or a promotional deal for this month, a year. Oh, she didn't like any of those things. She would spend more money on labor, spend more money on postage and lose money, but didn't want to do anything really that maybe is a different way of thinking. Her range was really narrow. She was looking at, my customers get a deal if I can cut costs. But she's not talking to the post office or UPS or FedEx. She's talking to an employee who is just simply an in-between. We're all human in between in a matrix called life, right? So we're all interactive with this. I'm a pretty independent person. You can't just call me on the phone and get a hold of me. You got to send me an email. That's the only way you can get a hold of me. You don't find my address around. You can't come knock on my door. So I'm not easy to get hold of. And some people email me and I don't want to talk to them. So I just delete the email and don't ever call them back. That's pretty ornery and feisty and whatever, right? And then other people, and some people I charge to talk to and some people I don't. Well, that's not fair at all. That's not equitable at all. But that has to do with this piece in here, not with value piece out there, right? So this is the piece that the potential for your life is that you start out with a relationship in it. Like, for me to go forward into potential, what do I need? Do I need more structure or less structure? Do I need more demand? Or can I have this be a request? Can I convert all that demand to request? Can I say, can we have a dialogue about something? Can we look at it a different way? Am I in a place where I can interplay with this? Can I search this out? How's it feel for me to do this? But people get in a job market and I have so many people walk in and said, oh, I don't know what to do with this job. I really like it, but then it's so stressful and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh my gosh, or it's so hard to make money, or I really work hard and I don't get a return, or oh my goodness. So I'm interested in getting them to make value, which is important, less important than potential, which is in here. That needs to become more important because that's what balances this bioelectrical chemical device, right? And gets it to function in a nice sort of way. Hey, things change. This changes. Look in the mirror. It's called aging. Other things also break. Look at your health, how much exercise you get. Look at your diet, right? Is the information out there viable for our diet? Well, statistically, no, it's not, right? So do I know more about it than someone else? I got a website on wellness, but that doesn't mean I know any more about it, but I most certainly are willing to have a discussion about it. So all those things are because I find that when people have a trauma in here and they get tense, health goes south. So if I'm going to get them back into their body, when they get back in, one of the first things they feel is like, oh, I'm tense and my back hurts and my legs are achy. And then, by the time that the class is over, it's like, oh my goodness, I'm starting to feel my body more. I want to get out and move around a little bit. I'm feeling better about me. That's the goal. So the initial concept is to be able to make you fit better in the potential stream for you. That's it, right? Now, all that logical stuff, hire a coach, hire someone that's an expert on something if you like, or open range and explore things and get into something you don't know very much about. Right? Most everything I've ever learned was by going down and getting a job and then learning it. I didn't know it when I got the job. I might have cheated a little bit in the application, but yeah, whatever. But most certainly I didn't know when I got the job. And so that's just a question of being able to expand into it. It didn't make it a demand for me to learn. It was actually exciting and fun for me to learn what I didn't know. It was like, wow, I can step up to this. Wow, this is kind of cool. I'm putting all the pieces together. I am just energized. When I got done working, I feel pretty good, like, wow, this is pretty good. It's fun. Those are the pieces that we're trying to encourage. Those are the things that build wellness. Those are the things that build confidence. Those are the things that build a relationship to life and a relationship to say, I now have a way to get out of those stressors. Just going to step away from them. I'm going to do no demands. I'm simply just going to come back and say, hey, make a request. Send me an email so you have a question. That's a request. I'll answer your question. You call me up and say, hey, you're not doing it right. I say, well, thank you very much. And that's the last email I'll get from you because I don't need to hear that again, right? I'm not trying to do it right. I'm trying to encourage you to follow, somebody say follow your heart. I'm not all that sure that that's true because emotional decisions aren't always the best in the world, right? And that's kind of leads to that piece. I'm saying follow this biology. What works for you in this biology, right? I don't want to sit at a desk, although I've done that. I don't want to be running around in the rain, although I've done that. I don't particularly want to be taking chains off and on trucks every couple hours in semi-snow country, and I've done that. So I can tell you a story about all those things. I'm not an expert in any one of them, but I've done them all. I did them until I said, okay, this was fun. It was interesting and it served me well. And now I think I'm going to do something different. And that's what I've done. So that's my approach for me coming in the front door of a teacher. So when somebody has a story for me and it's like, oh, my spirit guide said I should come take a class from you. I say, cool, you got a smart spirit guide. Maybe. We'll know more when the class is over. And if it turns out to be a dumb spirit guide, at least you'll know to fire them and get a different one, right? Right, that's as good as it gets. You kind of get the drift of this. So anyway, little notes on teaching as we go next month in March. I'll start to talk a little bit about some of the concepts of being able to have this energy do something one way, shape, or the other that works, right? And we can start to build this feeling of, okay, I can do this. Get on my way. I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure this out. And that's exactly what we want. We want that level of enthusiasm. We want that level of confidence. We want that level of like, I'm not going to figure all the logical pieces out. That is too complicated and it changes too much. I just want a relationship with it. That's it, right? It says I still carry change in my pocket for parking meters when I'm in the city, and most of the time I won't take change anymore. You got to put a credit card in it, and then register your driver's license number, and it comes up on a little computer they carry around when they're scanning the license plates to print tickets. So it's like the world's changing, right? So so we don't need to have a pocket full of change. It's such a small little change, but there's millions of them, right? Just millions of them. So it's like, and it never stopped. I can remember the first time I ever saw a parking meter when I was a kid, and like I had no idea what the heck it was. My mother was standing there trying to think, reading the directions of like, and she said to me, "You have any pennies?" And I'm thinking, do I want to give her my pennies? I got 3 pennies in my pocket. Do I want to give my mother my pennies? That's, holy cow, it's my life savings. I'm 5 years old. So I dig out my 3 pennies and, and hand it to her. And she goes, oh, good. Because that probably bought her an hour on a parking meter down we were at. And it's like, wow. Yeah, I forgot to ask for my 3 pennies back. That's too late now. All right. So anyway, it's been fun chatting. If you have questions, send them to Chris, that's CHRISS, 2 S's, at wizardscatch.com. And most certainly I'd be delighted to answer your questions or comment or argue with you or whatever you want to do. And so we may make a new friendship, or we may just be a venture in life, but that's what's fun to do. So thank you very much.